first ever Grand Prix win, Mercedes finishing 1-2, which wasn't just their first 1-2 of the year, but their first win of 2022. It was a weekend where everything went Mercedes' way after the team's most challenging season to date. The same could not be said for Red Bull. They struggled with fundamental pace, Max Verstappen dropped to last place after tangling with Lewis Hamilton, and finally there was quite the controversy between Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, when Max Verstappen refused to return the favour of letting Sergio back pass for P6 and valuable points in his fight for P2 in the championship. Understandably, this left Sergio fuming, and it opened a huge Red Bull can of worms. Now everyone is wondering, is their relationship that seemed so strong going to be affected moving forward? Now, to explain this properly, we need to go all the way back to the 29th of May 2022 for the 79th running of the Monaco Grand Prix. Now, after the incident in Brazil, Max kept referring to something that happened in the past, when giving reasons for not letting Sergio back through. Now, this something that happened in the past has been understood to most likely be Perez's crash in qualifying in Monaco. Basically, having set a time in Q3 that put him ahead of his teammate into P3, Perez crashed as he went into Portier. He then got collected by Carlos Sainz and the red flag was brought out, meaning Verstappen couldn't finish his lap and remained P4. Now, some have suggested that Perez crashed on purpose in order to stay ahead of his teammate for a race we all know is almost impossible to overtake in. But it's almost impossible to prove, apart from his telemetry which shows he got on the power a bit early, causing a spin. Well, come the end of the race on the Sunday, Perez came out as the winner, with Verstappen down in third, meaning he closed the gap from him to Verstappen from 25 points to 15 points. This was then closely followed by a contract renewal for Sergio. Now, whatever you want to believe regarding if Sergio did it on purpose, it's pretty clear Verstappen thinks he did. So, 168 days later, we found ourselves at the Brazilian Grand Prix. For those that didn't watch the race, Verstappen found himself at the back of the pack having tangled with Lewis Hamilton on lap 6 after the safety car restart. However, he slowly worked through the pack before the final safety car where he found himself on good pace with the softs. He then found his way past Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas and Esteban Ocon before catching his teammate Sergio Perez. Now, basically what happened was Sergio was told to let Max through to attack Fernando Alonso and the Ferraris on the condition that if he failed to overtake them, Max would hand the position back to Sergio before the checkered flag. And well, come the end of the race, Max failed to overtake Alonso, but he didn't let Sergio back through. Now what came next was some pretty fiery team radio messages. So firstly, Max was told by his race engineer Gianpiero Lambiase to let Sergio through twice. Max then didn't answer and finished the race before being asked what happened. Max replied with this: "I told you already last time, you guys don't ask that again to me, okay? Are we clear about that? I gave my reasons and I stand by it." Over on Sergio's radio, once they crossed the line, it went something like this, with Sergio saying, "Okay, thanks for that guys," obviously sarcastically. Then Christian Horner came on the radio apologising, with Sergio replying, "Yeah, it really shows who he is." Now, although Max hasn't said it, it is widely believed that when he talks about last time, he's referring to Monaco. And later in the media pen, Max, Sergio and Horner refused to elaborate on what last time was, and said everything has been sorted internally. But where does this leave the relationship between Verstappen and Perez? It's absolutely correct to say people were shocked by what happened between the two of them. From the outside, they came across as an incredibly strong partnership. Some could go as far as to say it was the perfect relationship. But clearly, this was not the case following Monaco, and then have a go at the team for telling him what to do was incredibly controversial, with many asking whether Max is bigger than the team. So where does it leave the two of them? Well, the way I see it is that it was a completely unnecessary call from Max, given he's already won the championship and so has nothing to gain by not letting him back through. All that decision has done is ruin any trust that Sergio had for Max, and he's made Sergio feel completely betrayed after countless times he has sacrificed his own race to help Max in fighting for titles. If Max wants to keep Sergio on side at Red Bull, he needs to make Sergio feel valued. Having Sergio continue to be there to help Max is a massive card to play when fighting for a championship. But the most damaging fact is Max wasn't willing to give the place back, even though he had nothing really to gain. While Sergio certainly did, as he is still in a close fight with Charles Leclerc for P2 in the championship. In my eyes, this says something much wider about Verstappen and shows how he clearly still has room for improvement as a team member and as a world champion. The fact he is still not mature enough to move on from what happened in Monaco, even after he was crowned world champion for 2022, shows Max has some serious learning to do. What Max needs to realise is the greatest drivers we've seen in the past have always been respected by teammates for good reasons. We can go back to Lewis Hamilton letting Valtteri Bottas through in Hungary 2017, even though Lewis was still fighting for a title. Or Ayrton Senna in 1991 when he let his teammate Gerhard Berger pass him for a race win to say thank you for being such a great teammate. These are examples that Max must learn from and adopt, because come 2023 he may be thrown back into a proper championship fight again, and will need Sergio to be there to help when he needs him. So all in all, this event has clearly brought up a lot of controversy that the team had done very well to keep quiet. But will this affect the Verstappen-Perez dynamic moving forward? Well, it certainly won't make it easier, and I guess it's up to Perez to see if he's willing to play ball.